Hello, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Hello, Genevieve and Heidi and Rose and Code. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So good. Rose, I just got a hearty chuckle out of that. So, tonight, we are getting back into The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, which is also entitled Masonic, Hermetic, Qabbalistic, and Rosicrucian Symbolical Philosophy. All right. It's an encyclopedic outline of those things. The title's written in many different ways to this book. So today we are going to start on page 17, which is almost the end of the introduction. All right. So let's do it to it. I bet you did, Rose. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I've been having difficulty getting my main camera to work again. So when I show you pictures, let me pull up this other thing so I can zoom in for you. So 17. All right. Oh man, this name. Okay. Is this on? Yes, this is on. Although Ammonius Saccus, or Sacchus, it's Sccus, was long believed to be the founder of Neoplatonism, the school had its beginning in Plotinus, AD 204 to 269, ? Prominent among the Neoplatonists of Alexandria, Syria, Rome, and Athens were Porphyry, Iamblichus, Celestius, and Emperor Julian, Plutarch, and Proclus. Neoplatonism was the supreme effort of decadent pagandom. That says pagandom. Neoplatonism was the supreme effort of decadent pagandom to publish and thus preserve for posterity its secret or unwritten doctrine. In its teachings, ancient idealism found its most perfect expression. Neoplatonism was concerned almost exclusively with the problems of higher metaphysics. It recognized the existence of a secret and all-important doctrine which, from the time of the earliest civilizations, had been concealed within the rituals, symbols, and allegories of religions and philosophies. To the mind unacquainted with its fundamental tenets, Neoplatonism may appear to be a mass of speculations interspersed with extravagant flights of fancy. Such a viewpoint, however, ignores the institutions of the mysteries, those secret schools into whose profundities of idealism nearly all of the first philosophers of antiquity were initiated. Boom. Dude, I just poured, well, not just, but in this last hour, I accidentally poured boiling water over my fingers. I'm such a doof. They are better, but they sting. But this tea is bomb. Let me tell you what. Thank you, Rose. I made this hat. It's an easy stitch. It's an easy one. This one is not even, it's like you sew it at the end. You don't even crochet it in a round. I love this hat. Thank you. When the physical body of pagan thought collapsed, an attempt was made to resurrect the form by installing new life into it by the unveiling of its mystical truths. This effort apparently was barren of results. Despite the antagonism, however, between pristine Christianity and Neoplatonism, many basic tenets of the latter were accepted by the former and woven into the fabric of patristic philosophy. Let's look up patristic. Patriarch, maybe? Oh, another StreamYard open. Okay. Patristic. Right. Everything's all jumbled up when I have this book out. It's so big. Okay. Patristic definition. Relating to the early Christian theologians or patristics. Isn't there a rule about using a word in a definition to define the word that it shouldn't be done? Like, seriously. The great patristic era of the first 5 centuries, relating to the early Christian theologians, or the patristics. So, Christian theologians. Okay. What is the meaning of patristic? Oh, we're relating to the church fathers and their writings. Okay, cool. I like it. Okay, patristic. Yeah, it's capitalized. The fabric of patristic philosophy. Briefly described, Neoplatonism is a philosophic code which conceives every physical or concrete body of doctrine to be merely the shell of a spiritual verity, which may be discovered through meditation and certain exercises of a mystic nature. Breathing energy. In comparison to the esoteric spiritual truths which they contain, the corporeal bodies of religion and philosophy were considered relatively of little value. Likewise, no emphasis was placed upon the material sciences. The term patristic is employed to designate the philosophy of the fathers of the early Christian church. Thank you, Manly P. Hall. Patristic philosophy is divided into 2 general epochs, or epochs. EPOCHS, ante-Nicene, and post-Nicene. The ante-Nicene period, in the main, was devoted to attacks upon paganism and to apologies and defenses of Christianity. Dude, it's like we live the same things over and over through different paradigms. But we're growing. I hope. I think we are. I'm thankful that we have so much available to us now for us to learn. I know there's a lot more bullshit to sort through, but even if we're not at the pinnacle of humankind, at least we're not being burned at the stake. I mean, yeah, I guess some people are in different ways, you know? Yeah, it's like society reprogramming. Okay. The entire structure of pagan philosophy was assailed, and the dictates of faith elevated above those of reason. Oh, dude, that pisses me off. In some instances, efforts were made to reconcile the evident truths of paganism with Christian revelation. Eminent among the ante-Nicene fathers were Saint Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, and Justin Martyr. Wow, his last name's Martyr? Is he the one who started it? In the post-Nicene period, more emphasis was placed upon the unfoldment of Christian philosophy along Platonic and Neoplatonic lines. Ooh, excuse me. Resulting in the appearance of many strange documents of a lengthy, rambling, and ambiguous nature, nearly all of which were philosophically unsound. The post-Nicene philosophers included Athanasius, Gregory of Nyssa, and Cyril of Alexandria. The patristic school is notable for its emphasis upon the supremacy of man throughout the universe. Man was conceived to be a separate and divine creation, the crowning achievement of deity, and an expression to the suzerainty, suzerainty of natural law. Let's look it up. suzerainty of natural law, and an exception to the suzerain. Okay, yeah, what a weird, cool word. Balls. How do I? There we go. Suzer. Oh, it's look at that. It's the first one up. I like that. What? What is it? The dominion of suzerain. What? Overlordship in capital letters. Suzerainty. Suzerainty. From suzerainty over the Middle East, North Africa, and more than a quarter of Europe to almost nothing by the end. In 2022, presidential election is an opportunity to debate whether to stand with its neighbors or risk eventually living under Greater China's suzerainty. Thank you for that really cool example. So here under this one, it says, the right of a country to partly control another. Japan acknowledged Russia suzerainty. Suzerainty? How do you say it again? Over the island of Sakhalin. All right, back to Merriam-Webster. I get it. Suzerainty. Overlordship. Well, I guess I'm a little more clear. What was I think? Why are all of these definition examples from 2021? Okay. All right. Suzerainty. Yeah, dude. Breathing in that prana. Yeah. With the cat down the road. I love that man. Okay. Suzerainty. So overlordship. Where's that weird word? Okay, so the crowning achievement of deity. Oh, wait. Okay. Man was conceived to be a separate and divine creation, the crowning achievement of deity, and an exception to the how do you say it again? Suzerainty of natural law. Oh, the overlordship of natural law. Interesting. To the patristics, it was inconceivable that there should ever exist another creature so noble, so fortunate, or so able as man, for whose sole benefit and edification of all kingdoms of nature were primarily created. I have mixed feelings on that. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel. Okay, patristic philosophy culminated in Augustinianism, which may be best defined as Christian Platonism, opposing the Pelasgian, 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 opposing the Pelasgian document or doctrine that man is the author of his own salvation. Augustinianism elevated the church and its dogmas to a position of absolute infallibility, a position which it successfully maintained until the Reformation. Gnosticism, a system of emanation interpreting Christianity in terms of Greek, Egyptian, and Persian metaphysics, appeared in the latter part of the 1st century of the Christian era. Practically all the information extant regarding the Gnostics and their doctrines, stigmatized as heresy by the ante-Nicene Church Fathers, is derived from the accusations made against them, particularly from the writings of Saint Irenaeus. In the 3rd century appeared mechanism, which is, or no, manic, where's that other word? Manic, how did I say that other word? It will help me. Where is it? It's right here, right? Manic, man, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like an O and an E together. Is it the same as that other word I just read? Nicene philosophers. Saint Irenaeus. No, that's an A and an E. So this is like an O and an E together. Manichoism. In the 3rd century appeared Manichoism, a dualistic system of Persian origin, which taught that good and evil were forever contending for universal supremacy. Oh, and look, in this one, it's an AE. What? In Manichaeism, should we look up how to say that? Let's find out. Suzerainty. Manichaeism. Manichaeism, a dualistic religious system with Christian, Gnostic, and pagan elements, founded in Persia in the 3rd century by Manes. The system was based on a supposed primeval conflict between light and darkness. It spread widely in the Roman Empire and in Asia, and survived in eastern Turkestan until the 13th century. Huh. Manichaeism. All right, Manichaeism. Oh my gosh, code. So you know how I always say Osimo all the time? Sherry, this girl I work with, she came in this morning and she ate breakfast with her husband, and she said, "Allie, oh my gosh, you know how you always say Osimo?" She said, "I found out that in Spanish that means excuse me." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Who did you learn that from?" And she was like, "A Spanish person?" and like and so then she pulled it up on her phone and showed me. So asimo means excuse me in Spanish. Isn't that something? I had no idea. And I told her, I got that from South Park because Cartman had that robot named Osimo. So that's where I got it from. Oh shoot. Okay, Manichaeism. Okay, actually too, I'm gonna cough for 1 second. Yeah, I like that. It's cool. Plus, I like the idea of spelling Osimo like it's spelled in Spanish. That's badass. Okay. Manichaeism. In Manichaeism, Christ is conceived to be the principle of redeeming good in contradistinction to the man Jesus, who was viewed as an evil personality. Wow. The death of Boethius in the 6th century marked the close. Damn, I marked my book. How did I do that? No. Oh, probably with my ring. Anyways, the death of Boethius in the 6th century marked the close of the ancient Greek school of philosophy. The 9th century saw the rise of the new school of scholasticism, which sought to reconcile philosophy with theology. Representative of the main divisions of the scholastic school were the eclecticism of John of Salisbury, the mysticism of Bernard of Clairvaux, Clairvaux, and Saint Bonaventura, the rationalism of Peter Abelard, and the pantheistic mysticism of Meister Eckhart. Among the Arabian Aristotelians, aristocrats, Aristotelians. Okay. Among the Arabian Aristotelians. Oh no. Were Avicenna and Averroes. The zenith of scholasticism was reached with the advent of Albertus Magnus and his illustrious disciple, St. Thomas Aquinas. Thomism, which is Thomism, the philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas, sometimes referred to as the Christian Aristotle, sought to reconcile the various factions of the scholastic school. Thomism was basically Aristotle. Balls. Where am I though? How can I even say it if I can't see it? Sometimes, okay, Thomism was basically Aristotelian. Oh no. Was basically Aristotelian with the added concept that faith is a projection of reason. Scotism, which is Scotism, or the doctrine of voluntarism, promulgated by Joannes Duns Scotus, a Franciscan scholastic, emphasized the power and efficacy of the individual will as opposed to Thomism. The outstanding characteristic of scholasticism was its frantic effort to cast all European thought in an Aristotelian mold. Eventually, the schoolmen descended to the level of mere wordmongers who picked the words of Aristotle so clean that nothing but the bones remained. It was this decadent school of meaningless verbiage against which Sir Francis Bacon directed his bitter shafts of irony, and which he relegated to the potter's field of discarded notions. The Baconian, or inductive, system of reasoning, whereby facts are arrived at by a process of observation and verified by experimentation, cleared the way for the schools of modern science. Bacon was followed by Thomas Hobbes, for some time his secretary, who held mathematics to be the only exact science and thought to be essentially a mathematical process. Hobbes declared, matter to be the only reality, and scientific investigation to be limited to the study of bodies, the phenomena relative to their probable causes, and the consequences which flow from them under every variety of circumstance. Hobbes laid special stress upon the significance of words, declaring understanding to be the faculty of perceiving the relationship between words and the objects for which they stand. I want to show you guys this picture here. The Ptolemaic scheme of the universe. From an old print, courtesy of Carl Oscar Borg. We have all the zodiac signs. I need to learn Latin. I want to learn Latin. Okay, where's my thing so I can zoomy this up? Burp-a-doop. The Ptolemaic scheme of the universe. So, let me read to you about that a little bit. Let me put this zip back down. 1, 2, 2. Boop. Okay. It says, in ridiculing the geocentric system of astronomy expounded by Claudius Ptolemy, modern astronomers have overlooked the philosophic key to the Ptolemaic system. The universe of Ptolemy is a diagrammatic representation of the relationships existing between the various divine and elemental parts of every creature, and is not concerned with astronomy as that science is now comprehended. In the above figure, special attention is called to the 3 circles of zodiacs surrounding the orbits of the planets. These zodiacs represent the threefold spiritual constitution of the universe. The orbits of the planets are the governors of the world, and the 4 elemental spheres in the center represent the physical constitution of both man and the universe. Ptolemy's scheme of the universe is simply a cross-section of the universal aura, the planets and elements to which he refers having no relation to those recognized by modern astronomers. Damn right. I know the 3 rings, right? It makes me think of that book I was just talking about. Am I still? Oh, wow, I'm still wearing earrings from earlier. The ninth gate. I mentioned that at one of my last readings. The secret being hidden in 3 books. And of the 9 symbolic paintings in each book, I think of the 9 of them, is it 3 that are different in each copy of the book, the only 3 books that were made? Dude, I love that book. It's so juicy. And then after I was thinking about it, and I was like, dude, there's a reason some of these movies, they stick with us, because there's these, it's like grains of truth in them. And it's there for us to sort out, but there is something, yeah. Anyways, 3 and 3. Okay. Man, I'm so pondery tonight. I'm not even off of the first page I started on. But it's a tome. It's huge. Having broken away from the scholastic and theological schools, post-Reformation or modern, philosophy experienced a most prolific growth along many diverse lines. According to humanism, man is the measure of all things. Rationalism makes the reasoning faculties the basis of all knowledge. Political philosophy holds that man must comprehend his natural, social, and natural privileges. Empiricism declares that alone to be true, which is demonstrable by experiment or experience. Moralism emphasizes the necessity of right conduct as a fundamental philosophic tenet. Idealism asserts the realities of the universe to be superphysical, either mental or physical. Realism, the reverse, and phenomenalism restricts knowledge to facts or events which can be scientifically described or explained. The most recent developments in the field of philosophic thought are behaviorism and neorealism. The former estimates the intrinsic characteristics through an analysis of behavior. The latter may be summed up as the total extinction of idealism. Baruch de Spinoza, the eminent Dutch philosopher, conceived God to be a substance absolutely self-existent and needing no other conception besides itself to render it complete and intelligible. Excuse me. The nature of his being, which is capitalized, being, was held by Spinoza to be comprehensible only through its attributes, which are extension and thought. These combine to form an endless variety of aspects or modes. The mind of man is one of the modes of infinite thought, the body of man one of the modes of infinite extension. Through reason, man is enabled to elevate himself above the illusionary world of the senses and find eternal repose in perfect union with the divine essence. Spinoza, it has been said, deprived God of all personality, making deity synonymous with the universe. German philosophy had its inception with Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. No, Leipzig. It was Leipzig. Leibniz. Okay. Whose theories are permeated with the quality of optimism and idealism. Leibniz's criteria of sufficient reason revealed to him the insufficiency of Descartes' theory of extension, and he therefore concluded that substance itself contained an inherent power in the form of an incalculable number of separate and all-sufficient units. Matter reduced to its ultimate particles ceased to exist as a substantial body, being resolved into a mass of immaterial ideas or metaphysical units of power, to which Leibniz applied the term monad. Thus, the universe is composed of an infinite number of separate monadic entities unfolding spontaneously through the objectification of innate active qualities. All things are conceived as consisting of single monads of varying magnitudes or of agitations of these bodies, which may exist as physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual substances. God is the first and greatest monad. The spirit of man is an awakened monad in contradistinction to the lower kingdoms whose governing monadic powers are in a semi-dormant state. Though a product of the Leibnizian Wolffian school, Immanuel Kant and Locke dedicated himself to investigation of the powers and limits of human understanding. The result was his critical philosophy, embracing the critique of pure reason, the critique of practical reason, and the critique of judgment. Dr. W.J. Durant sums up Kant's philosophy in the concise statement that he rescued mind from matter. The mind Kant conceived to be the selector and coordinator of all perceptions, which in turn are the result of sensations grouping themselves about some external object. In the classification of sensations and ideas, the mind employs certain categories of sense, time and space, of understanding, quality, relation, modality, and causation, and the unity of apperception, APPERCEPTION, Apperception. Let's look it up. Ooh, awesome. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Badass. Oh, shit. Apper something. I know where you were. Apperception. Oh, apperception. I don't know what it means, but let's find out. APP. Apperception. Dated. Psychology. The mental process by which a person makes sense of an idea by assimilating it to the body of ideas he or she already possesses. Fully conscious perception. An immediate apperception of a unity lying beyond. Apperception. Apperception. Okay. A mental process by which a person makes sense of an idea by assimilating it to the body of ideas he or she already possesses. That feels like a slippery slope. Okay, apperception. Mr. Hugh, awesome, awesome. Oh my gosh. Is it already looking full? Tomorrow technically is the full moon. Awesome. Yeah, the hunter moon. Warrior moon in Aries. I love that. Okay. I put some kind of different sugar in there tonight. It was it's some natural sugar. It's I like honey better. But that sounds good too. I can't remember what it is. I've had it for a long time. Okay, so apperception. So I'll start this big sentence again. In the classification of sensations and ideas, the mind employs certain categories of sense, time and space, of understanding, quality, relation, modality, and causation, and the unity of apperception. Being subject to mathematical laws, time and space are considered absolute and sufficient bases for exact thinking. Kant's practical reason declared that while the nature of noumenon, could never be comprehended by the reason, the fact of morality proves the existence of three necessary postulates: free will, immorality, and God. In the Critique of Judgment, Kant demonstrates the union of the noumenon and the phenomenon in art and biological evolution. German superintellectualism is the outgrowth of an overemphasis of Kant's theory of the autocratic supremacy of the mind over sensation and thought. I was born on the same day that Immanuel Kant was born on. Boom! I like that. I don't know why I like it so much, but I do. The philosophy of Johann Gottlieb Fichte was a projection of Kant's philosophy, wherein he attempted to unite Kant's practical reason with his pure reason. Fichte held that the known is merely the contents of the consciousness of the knower, and that nothing can exist to the knower until it becomes part of those contents. Nothing is actually real, therefore, except the facts of one's own mental experience. Boom. Recognizing the necessity of certain objective realities, Friedrich Wilhelm Joseph von Schelling, who succeeded Fichte in the chair of philosophy at Jena, Jena, first employed the doctrine of identity as the groundwork for a complete system of philosophy. Whereas Fichte regarded self as the absolute, von Schelling conceived infinite and eternal mind to be the all-pervading cause, which is capitalized. Realization of the absolute is made possible by intellectual intuition, which, being a superior or spiritual sense, is able to dissociate itself from both subject and object. Kant's category of space and time, Kant's categories of space and time, von Schelling conceived to be positive and negative respectively, and material existence the result of the reciprocal action of these two expressions. Von Schelling also held that the absolute, in its process of self-development, proceeds according to the law or rhythm consisting of three movements. The first, a reflective movement, is the attempt of the infinite to embody itself in the finite. The second, that of subsumption, is the attempt of the absolute to return to the infinite after involvement in the finite. The third, that of reason, is the neutral point wherein the two former movements are blended. Interesting. George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, considered the intellectual intuition of von Schelling to be philosophically unsound, and hence turned his attention to the establishment of a system of philosophy based upon pure logic. Of Hegel, it has been said that he began with nothing and showed with logic precision how everything had proceeded from it in logical order. Hegel elevated logic to a position of supreme importance. In fact, as a quality of the absolute itself. God he conceived to be a process of unfolding which never attains to the condition of unfoldment. In like manner, thought is without either beginning or end. Hegel further believed that all things owe their existence to their opposites, and that all opposites are actually identical. Thus, the only existence is the relationship of opposites to each other, through whose combinations new elements are produced. As the divine mind is an eternal process of thought never accomplished, Hegel assails the very foundation of theism, and his philosophy limits immorality to the ever-flowing deity alone. Evolution is consequently the never-ending flow of divine consciousness out of itself. All creation, though continually moving, never arrives at any state other than that of ceaseless flow. Johann Friedrich Herbert's philosophy was a realistic reaction from the idealism of Fichte and von Schelling. To Herbart, the true basis of philosophy was the great mass of phenomenon continually moving through the human mind. Examination of phenomena, however, demonstrates that a great part of it is unreal, at least incapable of supplying the mind with actual truth. To correct the false impressions caused by phenomena and discover reality, Herbart believed it necessary to resolve phenomena into separate elements, for reality exists in the elements and not in the whole. He stated that objects can be classified by three general terms: thing, matter, and mind. The first, a unit of several properties; the second, an existing object; the third, a self-conscious being. All three notions give rise, however, to certain contradictions, with whose solution Herbart is primarily concerned. For example, consider matter. Though capable of filling space, if reduced to its ultimate state, it consists of incomprehensibly minute units of divine energy occupying no physical space whatsoever. The true subject of Arthur Schopenhauer's philosophy is the will. The object of his philosophy is the elevation of the mind to the point where it is capable of controlling the will. Schopenhauer likens the will to a strong blind man who carries on his shoulders the intellect, which is a weak lame man possessing the power of sight. I have to read that again. Schopenhauer likens the will to a strong blind man who carries on his shoulders the intellect, which is a weak lame man possessing the power of sight. The will is the tireless cause of manifestation, and every part of nature the product of will. The brain is the product of the will to know, the hand the product of the will to grasp. The entire intellectual and emotional constitutions of man are subservient to the will and are largely concerned with the effort to justify the dictates of the will. Thus, the mind creates elaborate systems of thought simply to prove the necessity of the thing willed. Genius, however, represents the state wherein the intellect has gained supremacy over the will, and the life is ruled by reason and not by impulse. The strength of Christianity, said Schopenhauer, lay in its pessimism and conquest of individual will. His own religious viewpoints resembled closely the Buddhistic. To him, nirvana represented the subjugation of will. Life, the manifestation of the blind will to love. Life, the manifestation of the blind will to live, he viewed as a misfortune, claiming that the true philosopher was one who, recognizing the wisdom of death, resisted the inherent urge to reproduce his kind. Of Friedrich Wilhelm, is it Nietzsche? Oh no, I should know how to say that. Nietzsche. Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche? Can anybody help me phonetically in the chat? Oh, balls. Excuse me. Let's look it up. Apperception. Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. How do you say it, though? So I have to say pronunciation. Balls. Nietzsche. Okay, cool. Nietzsche. Thank you. Nietzsche. Okay, so of Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche, it has been said that his peculiar contribution to the cause of human hope was the glad tidings that God had died for pity. The outstanding features of Nietzsche's philosophy are his doctrine of eternal recurrence and the extreme emphasis placed by him upon the will to power, a projection of Schopenhauer's will to live. Nietzsche believed the purpose of existence to be the production of a type of all-powerful individual, designated by him the Superman. This Superman was the product of careful culturing. For if not separated forcibly from the mass and consecrated to the production of power, the individual would sink back to the level of the deadly mediocre. Love, Nietzsche said, should be sacrificed to the production of the Superman, and those only should marry who are best fitted to produce this outstanding type. Nietzsche also believed in the rule of the aristocracy, both blood and breeding being essential to the establishment of this superior type. Nietzsche's doctrine did not liberate the masses. It rather placed over them supermen for whom their inferior brothers and sisters should be perfectly reconciled to die. Ethically and politically, the Superman was a law unto himself. To those who understand the true meaning of power to be virtue, self-control, and truth, the ideality, the ideality behind Nietzsche's theory is apparent. To the superficial, however, it is a philosophy heartless and calculating, concerned solely with the survival of the fittest. Of the other German schools of philosophic thought, limitations of space preclude detailed mention. The more recent developments of the German school are Freudianism and relativism, often called the Einstein theory. The former is a system of psychoanalysis through psychopathic and neurological phenomena. The latter lacks the accuracy of mechanical principles dependent upon the present theory of velocity. René Descartes stands at the head of the French school of philosophy and shares with Sir Francis Bacon the honor of founding the systems of modern science and philosophy. As Bacon based his conclusions upon observation of external things, so Descartes founded his metaphysical philosophy upon observation of internal things. Cartesianism, the philosophy of Descartes, first eliminates all things and then replaces as fundamental those premises without which existence is impossible. Descartes defined an idea as that which fills the mind when we conceive a thing. The truth of an idea must be determined by the criteria of clarity and distinctness. Hence, Descartes held that a clear and distinct idea must be true. Descartes has the distinction also of evolving his own philosophy without recourse to authority. Consequently, his conclusions are built up from the simplest of premises and glow in complexity as the structure of his philosophy takes form. Okay, I'm going to do a little pause. I have a couple pictures to show you. Over here, we've got the tree of classical mythology. Wow. All these names. Orpheus, Aurora, Apollo, Diana, Persephone, Ceres, Vesta, Atlas, Titan, Chaos, Demogorgon, Tartarus, Nox, Moors. Okay, let's show this and then read about it. And then the other one I'm going to show you is the Christian Trinity, from Hone's Ancient Mysteries Described. And then this tree of classical mythology is from Hort's The New Pantheon. Okay. Let's get you all up in there. Shit, I can't see. I don't know where I am. Okay. Is the whole tree in there? I hope so. I can't see the screen. Ah! Oh, there goes my hat. And then, here's this one. Okay. Eee, hat hair. At least I'm fuzzy right now. Oh, I put it on backwards. Not that it really matters. Okay. Now, to put this back. Boom. Okay. So, the tree of classical mythology. Before a proper appreciation of the deeper scientific aspects of Greek mythology is possible, it is necessary to organize the Greek pantheon and arrange its gods, goddesses, and various superhuman hierarchies in concatenated order. We're going to look that up. I'll look it up in a second. Concatenated order. Proclus, the great Neoplatonist, in his commentaries on the theology of Plato, gives an invaluable key to the sequence of the various deities in relation to the first cause and the inferior powers emanating from themselves. When thus arranged, the divine hierarchies may be likened to the branches of a great tree. The roots of this tree are firmly embedded in unknowable being, which is capitalized. The trunk and larger branches of the tree symbolize the superior gods, the twigs and leaves, the innumerable existences dependent upon the first and unchanging power. Astara, destiny. I saw vegetables in my teeth. Okay, and then a Christian Trinity from Hone's Ancient Mysteries Described. In an effort to set forth in an appropriate figure the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, it was necessary to devise an image in which the three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, were separate and yet one. In different parts of Europe may be seen figures similar to the above, wherein three faces are united in one head. This is a legitimate method of symbolism, for to those able to realize the sacred significance of the threefold head, a great mystery is revealed. However, in the presence of such applications of symbology in Christian art, it is scarcely proper to consider the philosophers of other faiths as benighted if, like the Hindus, they have a three-faced Brahma, or, like the Romans, a two-faced Janus. The maid, the maiden, and the crone. The moon. I was going to look up a word over here. Concatenated. 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 Oh, not concatenate. I got the pronunciation. I mean definition. Okay, so it is link things together in a chain or series. Cool. Concatenate. Concatenation. I like that. Concatenate. Cool. Jackie, awesome. Welcome. Good to see you. Full moon tomorrow in Aries. We got this. Yeah. So cool. Concatenated. Superhuman hierarchies in concatenated order. Cool. Okay, now where was I over here on this page? Structure of his philosophy takes form. Is that where? Rene Descartes stands at the head of the... Yeah, wait, we read that. I think that is where I am. The positive philosophy of Auguste Comte is Count Augustus. The positive philosophy of Auguste Comte is based upon the theory that the human intellect develops through three stages of thought. The first and lowest stage is theological, the second metaphysical, and the third and highest positive. Thus, theology and metaphysics are the feeble intellectual efforts of humanity's child mind, and positivism is the mental expression of the adult intellect. In his Cours de Philosophie Positive, Comte writes, quote, "In the final, the positive state, the mind has given over the vain search after absolute notions, the origin and destination of the universe, and the causes of phenomena, and applies itself to the study of their laws, that is, their invariable relations of succession and resemblance. Reasoning and observation, duly combined, are the means of this knowledge. End quote. Comte's theory is described as an enormous system of materialism. According to Comte, it was formerly said that the heavens declare the glory of God, but now they only recount the glory of Newton and Laplace. Among the French schools of philosophy are traditionalism, often applied to Christianity, which esteems tradition as the proper foundation for philosophy. The sociological school, which regards humanity as one vast social organism, the encyclopedists, whose efforts to classify knowledge according to the Baconian system revolutionized European thought, Voltairianism, excuse me, which assailed the divine origin of the Christian faith and adopted an attitude of extreme skepticism toward all matters pertaining to theology, and Neocriticism, a French revision of the doctrines of Immanuel Kant. Henry Bergson, the intuitionist, undoubtedly the greatest living French philosopher, presents a theory of mystic anti-intellectualism founded upon the premise of creative evolution. His rapid rise to popularity is due to his appeal to the finer sentiments in human nature, which rebel against the hopelessness and helplessness of materialistic science and realistic philosophy. Bergson sees God as life continually struggling against the limitations of matter. He even conceives the possible victory of life over matter, and in time, the annihilation of death. Applying the Baconian method of the mind, John Locke, the great English philosopher, declared that everything which passes through the mind is a legitimate object of mental philosophy, and that these mental phenomena are as real and valid as the objects of any other science. In his investigations of the origin of phenomena, Locke departed from the Baconian requirement that it was first necessary to make a natural history of facts. The mind was regarded by Locke to be blank until experience is inscribed upon it. Thus, the mind is built up of received impressions plus reflection. The soul Locke believed to be incapable of apprehension of deity, and man's realization or cognition of God to be merely an merely an inference of the reasoning faculty. David Hume was the most enthusiastic and also the most powerful of the disciples of Locke. Attacking Locke's sensationalism, Bishop George Berkeley substituted for it a philosophy founded on Locke's fundamental premises, but which he developed as a system of idealism. Berkeley held that ideas are the real objects of knowledge. He declared it impossible to adduce proof that sensations are occasioned by material objects. He also attempted to prove that matter has no existence. I still have to cough. 1 second. I hope that helped. Ooh, here's my crystal ball. Boop. It's tiny. Okay. I don't know where I am right in here. Attacking Locke's sensationalism, Bishop George Berkeley substituted for it a philosophy founded on Locke's fundamental premises, but which he developed as a system of idealism. Berkeley held that ideas are the real objects of knowledge. He declared it impossible to adduce proof that sensations are occasioned by material objects. He also attempted to prove that matter has no existence. That's where I was. Berkeleyanism holds that the universe is permeated and governed by mind. Thus, the belief in the existence of material objects is merely a mental condition, and the objects themselves may well be fabrications of the mind. At the same time, Berkeley considered it worse than insanity to question the accuracy of the perceptions. For if the power of the perceptive faculties be questioned, man is reduced to a creature incapable of knowing, estimating, or realizing anything whatsoever. In the associationalism of Hartley and Hume was advanced the theory that the association of ideas is the fundamental principle of psychology and the explanation for all mental phenomena. Hartley held that if a sensation be repeated several times, there is a tendency toward its spontaneous repetition, which may be awakened by association with some other idea, even though the object causing the original reaction be absent. The utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham, Archdeacon Paley, and James and John Stuart Mill declares that to be the greatest good, which is the most useful to the greatest number. John Stuart Mill believed that if it is possible through sensation to secure knowledge of the properties of things, it is also possible through a higher state of the mind, that is, intuition or reason, to gain a knowledge of the true substance of things. Darwinism is the doctrine of natural selection and physical evolution. It has been said of Charles Robert Darwin that he determined to banish spirit altogether from the universe and make the infinite and omnipresent mind itself synonymous with the all-pervading powers of an impersonal nature. Agnosticism and Neo-Hegelianism are also noteworthy products of this period of philosophic thought. The former is the belief that the nature of ultimates is unknowable. The latter, an English and American revival of Hegel's idealism. Dr. W. J. Durant declares that Herbert Spencer's great work, First Principles, made him almost at once the most famous philosopher of his time. Spencerianism is a philosophic positivism which describes evolution as an ever-increasing complexity with equilibrium as its highest possible state. Homeostasis. According to Spencer, life is a continuous process from homogeneity to heterogeneity and back from heterogeneity to homogeneity. Life also involves the continual adjustment of internal relations to external relations. Most famous of all Spencer's aphorisms is his definition of deity. Quote, God is infinite intelligence, infinitely diversified through infinite time and infinite space, manifesting through an infinitude of ever-evolving individualities. End quote. The universality. How do you say that? Universality. The universality. Universality? The universality of the law of evolution was emphasized by Spencer, who applied it not only to the form, but also to the intelligence behind the form. In every manifestation of being, he recognized the fundamental tendency of unfoldment from simplicity to complexity, observing that when the point of equilibrium is reached, it is always followed by the process of dissolution. According to Spencer, however, disintegration took place only that reintegration might follow upon a higher level of being. That's right. Born out of chaos. The chief position in the Italian school of philosophy should be awarded to Giordano Bruno. I don't know if I said that right. Who, after enthusiastically accepting Copernicus's theory that the sun is the center of the solar system, declared the sun to be a star and all the stars to be suns. In Bruno's time, the earth was regarded as the center of all creation. Consequently, when he thus relegated the world and man to an obscure corner in space, the effect was cataclysmic. For the hearsay of affirming a multiplicity of universes and conceiving cosmos to be so vast that no single creed could fill it, Bruno paid the forfeit of his life. Vicoism is a Vicoism. Vicoism is a philosophy based upon the conclusions of Giovanni Battista Vico, who held that God controls his word, not miraculously, but through natural law. The laws by which men rule themselves, Vico declared, issue from a spiritual source within mankind which is en rapport with the law of the deity. Hence, material law is of divine origin and reflects the dictates of the spiritual father. The philosophy of ontologism, developed by Vincenzo Gioberti, generally considered more as a theologian than a philosopher, posits God as the only being and the origin of all knowledge, knowledge being identical with deity itself. God is consequently called being. All other manifestations are existences. Truth is to be discovered through reflection upon this mystery. The most important of modern Italian philosophers is Benedetto Croce, 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 a Hegelian idealist. Croce conceives ideas to be the only reality. He is anti-theological in his viewpoints, does not believe in the immorality of the soul, and seeks to substitute ethics and aesthetics for religion. Among other branches of Italian philosophy should be mentioned sensism or sensationalism, which posits the sense perceptions as the sole channels for the reception of knowledge. Criticism, or the philosophy of accurate judgment, and Scholasticism, which posits the sense perceptions, which is a revival of Thomism encouraged by the Roman Catholic Church. The two outstanding schools of American philosophy are Transcendentalism and Pragmatism. Transcendentalism, exemplified in the writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, emphasizes the power of the transcendental over the physical. Many of Emerson's writings show pronounced Oriental influence, particularly his essays on the Oversoul and the Law of Comprehension. The theory of pragmatism, while not original with Professor William James, owes its widespread popularity to a philosophic tenet to his efforts. Pragmatism may be defined as the doctrine that the meaning and nature of things are to be discovered from consideration of their consequences. I love you, Rose. That is funny. come to the end of my reading here. I'm on the last page before we're finally done with the introduction. Okay. Okay. Where am I? That was funny. So the theory of pragmatism will not wait, I already said that. Okay. To his efforts. Pragmatism may be defined as the doctrine that the meaning and nature of things are not to be discovered from consideration of their consequences. No, are to be discovered. Pragmatism may be defined as the doctrine that the meaning and nature of things are to be discovered from consideration of their consequences. The true, according to James, quote, is only an expedient in the way of our thinking, just as the right is only the expedient in the way of our behaving. See his pragmatism. In parentheses. John Dewey, the instrumentalist, who applies the experimental attitude to all the aims of life, should be considered a commentator of James. To Dewey, growth and change are limitless, and no ultimates are postulated. The long residence in America of George Santayana warrants the listing of this great Spaniard among the ranks of American philosophers. Defending himself with the shield of skepticism alike from the illusions of the senses and the cumulative errors of the ages, Santayana seeks to lead mankind into a more apprehending state dominated by him, the life of reason. And then this is in parentheses, this whole paragraph. In addition to the authorities already quoted, in the preparation of the foregoing abstract of the main branches of philosophic thought, the present writer has had recourse to Stanley's History of Philosophy, Morel's an historical and critical view of the speculative philosophy of Europe in the 19th century, Singer's Modern Thinkers and Present Problems, Rand's, R-A-N-D'(S), Modern Classical Philosophers, Windelband's History of Philosophy, Perry's Present Philosophical Tendencies, Hamilton's Lectures on Metaphysics and Logic, and Durant's The Story of Philosophy. Therasia! Good to see you. Welcome in. Having thus traced the more or less sequential development of philosophic speculation from Thales to James and Bergson, it is now in order to direct the reader's attention to the elements leading to the circumstances attendant upon the genesis of philosophic thinking. Although the Hellenes proved themselves particularly responsive to the disciplines of philosophy, this science of sciences should not be considered indigenous to them. Quote, although some of the Grecians, writes Thomas Stanley, have challenged to their nation the original of philosophy, yet the more learned of them have acknowledged it to be derived from the East. End quote. The magnificent institutions of Hindu, Chaldean, and Egyptian learning must be recognized as the actual source of Greek wisdom. The last was patterned after the shadow cast by the sanctuaries of Ellora, and Memphis upon the thought substance of a primitive people. Thales, Pythagoras, and Plato, in their philosophic wanderings, contacted many distant cults and brought back the lore of Egypt and the inscrutable Orient. From indisputable facts such as these, it is evident that philosophy emerged from the religious mysteries of antiquity, not being separated from religion until after the decay of the mysteries. Hence, he who would fathom the depths of philosophic thought must familiarize himself with the teachings of those initiated priests designated as the first custodians of divine revelation. The mysteries claim to be the guardians of a transcendental knowledge so profound as to be incomprehensible save to the most exalted intellect, and so potent as to be revealed with safety only to those in whom personal ambition was dead and who had consecrated their lives to the unselfish service of humanity. I think about that. I think about that a lot. Both the dignity of these sacred institutions and the validity of their claim to possession of universal wisdom are attested by the most illustrious philosophers of antiquity, who were themselves initiated into the profundities of the secret doctrine and who bore witness to its efficacy. The question may legitimately be propounded. If these ancient mystical institutions were of such great pith and moment, why is so little information now available concerning them and the arcana they claim to possess? That means secret. The answer is simple enough. The mysteries were secret societies, binding their initiates to inviolable secrecy and avenging with death and betrayal of their sacred trusts. Although these schools were the true inspiration of the various doctrines promulgated by the ancient philosophers, the fountainhead of those doctrines was never revealed to the profane. Furthermore, in the lapse of time, the teachings became so inextricably linked with the names of their disseminators that the actual but recondite source, the mysteries, came to be wholly ignored. I'm looking it up. Recondite. I come across that word sometimes. Recondite. Recondite, I reckon. Of a subject or knowledge, little known, abstruse. The book is full of recondite information. I love that. Okay. Recondite. Recondite. So I'm going to read that sentence. Furthermore, the lapse of time, the teachings. In the lapse of time, the teachings became so inextricably linked with the names of their disseminators that the actual but recondite source, the mysteries, came to be wholly ignored. Symbolism is the language of the mysteries. In fact, it is the language not only of mysticism and philosophy, but of all nature. For every law and power active in universal procedure is manifested to the limited sense perceptions of man through the medium of symbol. Every form existing in the diversified sphere of being is symbolic of the divine activity by which it is produced. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language. Rejecting man-conceived dialects as inadequate and unworthy to perpetuate divine ideas, the mysteries thus chose symbolism as a far more ingenious and ideal method of preserving their transcendental knowledge. In a single figure, a symbol may both reveal and conceal. For to the wise, the subject of the symbol is obvious, while to the ignorant, the figure remains inscrutable. Hence, he who seeks to unveil the secret doctrine of antiquity must search for that doctrine not upon the open pages of books which might fall into the hands of the unworthy, but in the place where it was originally concealed. Far-sighted were the initiates of antiquity. They realized that nations come and go, that empires rise and fall, and that the golden ages of art, science, and idealism are succeeded by the dark ages of superstition. With the needs of posterity foremost in mind, the sages of old went to inconceivable extremes to make certain that their knowledge should be preserved. They engraved it upon the face of mountains and concealed it within the measurements of colossal images, each of which was a geometric marvel. Their knowledge of chemistry and mathematics they hid within mythologies, which the ignorant would perpetuate, or in the spans and arches of their temples, which time has not entirely obliterated. They wrote in characters that neither the vandalism of men nor the ruthlessness of the elements could completely efface. Today, men gaze with awe and reverence upon the mighty Memnons standing alone on the sands of Egypt, or upon the strange terraced pyramids of Palenque. Is that how you say that? Palenque? Mute testimonies, these are of the lost arts and sciences of antiquity, and concealed this wisdom must remain until this race has learned to read the universal language. Symbolism! I love symbolism. The book to which this is the introduction is dedicated to the proposition that concealed within the emblematic figures, allegories, and rituals of the ancients is a secret doctrine concerning the inner mysteries of life, which doctrine has been preserved in toto among a small band of initiated minds since the beginning of the world. Departing, these illuminated philosophers left their formulae that others too might attain to understanding. But lest these secret processes fall into uncultured hands and be perverted, the great arcanum was always concealed in symbol or allegory, and those who can today discover its lost keys may open with them a treasure house of philosophic, scientific, and religious truths. Boom! That's the intro. Wow. Okay, so wait. We have one last picture to share. The Orphic egg. I'll read to you about it and then I'll show you. Or I'll give you a glimpse of it real quick, just so you know what it looks like, right? Now I'll read it to you and then I'll show you it closer. Oh, so this is from Bryant's An Analysis of Ancient Mythology. The snake and the egg. All right. The ancient symbol of the Orphic mysteries was the serpent entwined egg, which signified cosmos as encircled by the fiery creative spirit. The egg also represents the soul of the philosopher, the serpent, the mysteries. At the time of initiation, the shell is broken and man emerges from the embryonic state of physical existence wherein he had remained through the fetal period of philosophic regeneration. Awesome. Voy, good to see you again, man. It's awesome that you're back around. And that is the end of this. Let me show you this picture real quick. And get this music stand out of here. Ooh, double ear pop. I love it. Zoom, zoom, zoom. The Orphic egg. I love that. Ahoy, boy. Dang, so we did it, you guys. We got back into it. Ooh, this is the picture we're starting with next week. Leo keys, swords, snakes. Wow. This reminds me of the Hierophant too. It's like the Hierophant and strength. And the 6 of coins. Okay. All right, everyone. Oh, that's right. I turned that over. So let me get this all back up in here. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, everyone. I'm glad we got back into this juicy read. And it is a strange pick, right? I like it. The Orphic Egg. Hey, Donald, welcome in. Awesome. I'm just calling it out for tonight. But man, I appreciate yous, and I hope you're having wonderful weekends. Tomorrow is a full moon in Aries, the hunter moon, the warrior moon. So yeah, what are we releasing tomorrow? And what are we drawing in? So I don't know if I'll be going live tomorrow or not. I might be going to an event with my family, and I have like stuff to do out under the full moon also. But I know I'll be back soon, even if it's not tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you then. So until then, take care of yourselves. And yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I love yous.